This is the Music History Today podcast for November the 8th. On today's show, Led Zeppelin IV is released and James Newsted starts a new gig. First up, though, on this date in 1887, Emil Berliner got the first patent for the gramophone, which in later years would end up becoming the record player. In 1957, Elvis Presley's third movie, Jailhouse Rock, premiered in Memphis, Tennessee. In 1968, Cynthia Lennon's divorce from John Lennon was finalized. In 1970, Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas and actor Dennis Hopper's divorce was finalized. They were divorced after only 9 days of marriage. In 1974, singer Connie Francis was attacked in her hotel room after a performance at the Westbury Music Fair in New York. And by attacked, I mean violently, I would say, but regulations, streaming service, etc. In 1986, James Newsted played his first concert as bassist for Metallica. The show was at the Country Club in Reseda, California. And in 2011, rapper Heavy D passed away at the age of 44 from a pulmonary embolism. In award ceremonies that were held on November the 8th, in 2002, David Gilmour of Pink Floyd was knighted by the British royal family. In 2013, Miguel and Tamar Braxton were among those who were the big winners at the Soul Train Music Awards. And in 2021, Missy Elliott received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Albums that were released on November the 8th include in 1965 when the Beach Boys released Beach Boys Party. In 1968, Diana Ross and the Supremes and the Temptations released their album Diana Ross and the Supremes Join the Temptations. In 1971, Billy Preston released I Wrote a Simple Song, and Led Zeppelin released their iconic album Led Zeppelin IV. We discussed the making of this album, among a couple other things, on this week's Music History In-Depth podcast, which has dropped on this network already. In 1974, Elton John released Elton John's Greatest Hits. In 1974, same day, Thin Lizzy released Nightlife and Styx released Man of Miracles. In 1980, Motorhead released their classic Ace of Spades. In 1981, Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, or OMD if you will, released Architecture and Morality. In 1982, ABBA released ABBA the Singles the First 10 Years, and the Waitresses released I Could Rule the World If I Could Only Get the Parts. In 1985, New Edition released All for Love. In 1986, Wasp released Inside the Electric Circus. In 1988, REM released Green. In 1989, Quincy Jones released his Grammy Award-winning album Back on the Block. In 1990, Elton John released To Be Continued. In 1993, Paul McCartney released Paul is Live, and Iron Maiden released Iron Maiden Live at Donington. In 1994, Big Audio released Higher Power, and the Eagles released Hell Freezes Over. In 2000, Cher released Non-Commercial. In 2005, 38 Special released 38 Special Live. Limp Bizkit released Greatest Hits. The Tragically Hip released Your Favorites. And Traffic released Last Great Traffic Jam. In 2011, Pablo Cruz released It's Good to Be Love, and Rush released Time Machine 2011 live in Cleveland. Singles that were released on November the 8th include in 1960 when Sam Cooke released Sad Mood. In 1963, Jan and Dean released Drag City. Bobby Vinton released There, I've Said It Again. And Dusty Springfield released I Only Want to Be With You. But that one was only in the UK on that date. Also only in the UK on that date was 1968's date when Diana Ross and the Supremes released Love Child. Also in 1968, but in America, Dusty Springfield released her classic Son of a Preacher Man. In 1972, Lou Reed released his classic Walk on the Wild Side. In 1974, Nazareth released Love Hurts, but only in the UK on that date. In 1975, Earth, Wind & Fire released Sing a Song, another big hit. In 1976, the Beatles released Obla Di Obla Da, but only in the UK on that date. It was an album track back in the day, and then they finally released it as a single. In 1982, the Human League released Mirror Man, which was a big hit for them, and Eurythmics released Love is a Stranger, which was a huge hit, but that release was also only in the UK on that date. In 1989, Aerosmith released Janie's Got a Gun, which was a big hit, and Chris Isaak released Wicked Game, which was a huge breakthrough hit for him. In 1994, Pearl Jam released Spin the Black Circle. In 1996, Sheryl Crow released a big hit, Every Day is a Winding Road. In 2004, U2 released Vertigo after being released as a digital single on September 24, 2004. In 2018, Louis Capaldi released his big hit, Someone You Loved. And in 2019, Harvey released A Million Ways. Before we continue, we'd like to tell you that we've started Season 2 of the Music History In-Depth podcast, where we go more in-depth on some of the events that we mention on this particular podcast. The Music History In-Depth podcast drops every Tuesday on this podcast network. Now, back to the Music History Today podcast. Artists who were born on November the 8th include singer SZA, rapper Pooh Shiesty, singer-songwriter Rickie Lee Jones, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Bonnie Raitt, singer Minnie Riperton, singer Patti Page, Roy Wood of Electric Light Orchestra, or ELO if you will, Don Murray of the Turtles, Bonnie Bramlett of Delaney and Bonnie, Johnny Perez of the Sir Douglas Quintet, country music singer Lauren Elena, country music singer Bucky Covington, reggae singer Diana King, 70s teen idol Leif Garrett, Doc Green of the Drifters, Al Berger of Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, Pearl Thompson of The Cure, Terry Lee Mayel of Adam and the Ants, singer Ken Dodd, singer Nick Mara, rapper Lesane Casino, singer Jasmine Thompson, rapper Tech9, rapper Lil Day Day, Riker Lynch of R5, rapper Kia, and rapper Eday. Artists who unfortunately passed away on November the 8th include composer and pianist Maximilian Stadler, organist Cesar Frank, blues guitarist Kokomo Arnold, singer-songwriter Ivory Jo Hunter, singer and actress Beatrice Kay, jazz bassist Red Mitchell, drummer Dan McLean, a.k.a. Country Dick Montana of the group The Beat Farmers, blues musician and instrument maker Lonnie Pitchford, jazz trumpet player Lester Bowie, singer Guy Speranza of the group Raitt, composer Andre Ishpay, jazz pianist and singer Margot Gurin, singer Dan McCafferty of Nazareth, and country music singer Jeff Cook. Next on the Music History Today podcast, it is November the 9th when in 2006, David Bowie gave his final performance.